Hi, it's Lisa here from Soul to Soul Yoga. Just thought I'd do a quick recipe on. We're doing a Sunday lunch today. We have a Sunday roast most Sundays, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I do my vegetables, just to make them a bit more interesting. Now, I do loads of vegetables for my Sunday roast because I would rather have a little bit of a lot of different vegetables than a lot of one or two. Much better for you to eat like that. And also, then we have leftovers for the Monday that we might put with something else. So I usually get loads of veg and just cook them all, and then we take it from there. One of the things that we all love as our family is garlic greens. So we can use any sort of greens, but today I have cabbage. Which is my favourite way of cooking cabbage. I also have some kale, bag of kale, so I'm going to stick that in. I'm going to do the red cabbage, but I'm going to do that separately. I also have some cauliflower, so I've um, prepared the cauliflower, took the stalks off, but I haven't wasted them. I'm actually going to roast the cauliflower and the stalks. These are perfectly edible. Don't throw them away. They're really nice. But roasting cauliflower is the way I like to eat it, just with a little oil, salt and pepper. It's really delicious. And it sort of char grills a little bit at the edge. So I'm going to use the cauliflower greens as well, because the outer leaves of the cauliflower, again, perfectly edible and fine. So we're going to just chop them up and pop them through as well. Nothing is wasted if it doesn't need to be. Or if you have a rabbit or an hamster or something, they could have a little bit of that as well. And then what I've done is I've sliced an onion, so just a white onion, and I'll chop it a little bit more finely, some garlic. Obviously you could use a grater, or you could just use a blitzer, like a little, but I'm just gonna chop that, and there's about 3 or 4 large cloves there, so it's quite garlicky. And then we're just going to chop the cabbage into slices, quite thin slices. And what you're going to do is actually stir fry the greens. I love to do this with spinach as well. And you can add, once you've done the stir fry veg, you could add courgettes. I kind of like do a medley of greens. I often like add some peas at the end, just some frozen peas again to kind of add something else. But for today, we're just going to use cabbage and kale. Okie doke. So I think that's enough for now. So come with me, camera person. Thank you. I'm going to pop this on the heat. So you want to put it on a medium heat. This is always on. A little bit of oil. You want to have flavourless. This is rapeseed oil. So use vegetable oil, or even, I guess you could use olive oil, but it's not so good for cooking. Okay, so we're going to let that heat for a moment, and then we're going to pop in, first of all, the garlic and the onions. Okay, so I'll put this on here. This is all wet washing because as you can see outside, have a look. It's a beautiful snowy day. We've been out playing and making snowmen. So all of our clothes are really wet, so they're drying on the Aga. Okay, so just going to let that stir fry just for a couple of moments. You can start to hear it already. It's going to cook when we cook the main dish anyway, and it's just really simple. It's not particularly complicated. It's just I thought I would share a really nice way to serve greens. And then I'm going to pop the cabbage in. I'm not a big fan of things like boiled vegetables. Steamed are sometimes nice, but they can get a bit boring or a bit repetitive. So stir frying veg is a really good way to keep a lot of the nutrients in, and just you can add just a different sort of texture. So that's gonna stir fry away. I'm gonna pop in a little bit of salt and a little bit of wine. Not really, it's pepper. It's my pepper grinder. You can always add a little bit more seasoning afterwards, of course, and stir fry it around. I'd love to know if you have different ways of cooking your vegetables. Kind of contact me, let me know. Things that people, sort of wouldn't traditionally think about doing. And then I'm going to pop, excuse me, Cal, I'm going to pop a little bit of just a splash of water, which you can hear. just creates a little bit of steam, but I'm not actually going to steam this. I'm not going to cover this. I'm going to just cook and stir fry this down. So have a look. So literally this is going to take probably just a couple of minutes just to start to cook down, and then I'm going to add some kale. So this is curly kale, just in one of these bags that you buy. I love kale, but it can be quite tough, so you want to cook this a little bit longer. Some of these stems I should have cut before, but nah, it'll all come out fine in the end. And as you can see, this is the trouble with these. If you cook spinach or kale or whatever, they tend to be quite big to start with, and then it will come smaller. So I'm going to now pop this in the oven. That's because I'm cooking with an auger, so we tend to cook in the oven, but you could leave it on the top. You could cover it for a little bit if you wanted, just to create some steam, and we'll come back to it in about, come back to it in about 5 to 7 minutes. Should have started to wilt down nicely. Okay, so this is now been cooking down for about 10 minutes on a low heat. I popped a little bit of extra water in as it dries out, and I've also put the rest of the cabbage and the rest of the kale in, so you can see it's already cooking down. Now that would be perfectly fine to eat. It's got a little al dente, which I like, but this is going to be for the family meal, and I know Cassie likes it a little more soft. So we are going to actually just simmer this away, maybe pop it in the oven, but at a low heat for maybe another 5 or 10 minutes. But honestly, if you put it on a low heat, you can cook it longer and it goes a bit more soft. Just play it by ear. Depends what you put in. Spinach cooks quick. Kale and cabbage takes maybe a little longer, and it depends on the type of cabbage. As I said, if I wanted to, now I would pop some big peas in, some frozen peas, and then that adds a little bit of another zinger of another green to make it a greens medley. But the basic ingredients are really simple: greens, onion, garlic, salt and pepper. And obviously add any more salt and pepper to taste. He's probably going to want a little more seasoning just to bring it alive before we serve. So there you go. Stir-fried greens to go with your dinner. Enjoy.